Okay, so there's this one time in high school that absolutely ruined me when it comes to decluttering, and let me tell you why. So I had these pair of black pants that I never wore. I don't even know why I had them, and they were, to me, kind of like old, like they were slacks, and in high school, no one wears slacks. So my mom was asking me to clean my room, and I was like, I got this, and I decluttered these black slacks. Then like a year later, I'm still the same size because I'm in high school. So I'm like mostly stopped growing because I was a full-blown adult in 7th grade. But anyway, I got a job at Cold Stone Creamery. Don't ask me to sing a jingle, okay? Like the Flintstones jingle to Cold Stone. Anyone? No? Okay, so they, for their uniform, required black slacks. And I said, Mom, I need to get a pair of black slacks. And she was like, don't you have a pair of those? And I was like, no, I decluttered them. And so we ended up having to buy a new pair of black slacks. And ever since then, it wasn't even like a dire situation or that big of a deal. I think I went and got like black slacks from Target for $20. But I'm always worried that I'm gonna need the thing that I've decluttered as soon as I declutter it. And that's called the fear of donation regret, and that's what we're gonna be talking about today. I probably don't need to walk you through all the benefits of decluttering because if you're here watching a video about decluttering, something tells me that you know it's a good idea. Like you want to get stuff out of your house. So we're gonna let that one go for a minute. But that being said, this video is for people who know that they wanna lighten the load at their house. Like you don't need to be convinced that decluttering is a good idea. You just wanna figure out how to do it without getting stuck on this whole, what if I need it again down the line. Okay, so donation regret. This is when you haven't used that food saver that you got for Christmas 6 years ago. In fact, it is still in the box, but you are convinced that you're gonna use this food saver, even though you probably never will because you're already just using like plastic bags or whatever you use to freeze your food. And it would be a bigger lift to like learn how to use a food saver and figure all that out than just to continue doing what you've already been doing. Like, unless you plan on becoming a full-time fisherman in the state of Alaska, which in fairness, there was a little bit of merit of that in my life because I did live in Alaska, but then we weren't like full-time fishermen. So we realized we didn't actually need the food saver for all the salmon we were gonna catch because we didn't go out and catch the salmon. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, you're gonna just use what you already have. And if you use your food saver, that's great. I'm just giving this as an example from our own lives, right? So donation regret, or the fear of donation regret, is gonna be, okay, the second I get rid of this, I'm gonna become a world-class salmon farmer, fisherman. I'm fully not here to kill your future dreams for yourself, dream big, but I want to help you get out of that fear of getting rid of stuff that you're probably never going to use. Here's the truth. That big what if question is holding you back from experiencing the joy and the freedom and the serenity of a house that doesn't have a whole bunch of stuff in it. Because every single thing that you get rid of will be a what if item. It could lead to donation regret. Like you might need it again because that's why you bought it in the first place, is you thought you would use it, or maybe you did use it for a while, right? So it's not illogical to think you might need to use this stuff again. But if you hold on to every single thing that has potential use in your house or potential enjoyment, which is everything because you bought it for that reason, then you're never going to declutter your home. If you're anything like me, when you walk past a pile of stuff in your house, you're like, great. It's like it's yelling at you to take care of it. You're like, more stuff I need to do, more stuff I need to like figure out where to put or how to keep or how to use it or take it out of the box and read the directions or, fold that sweater and put it away nicely. Like every single thing we own takes time, especially when it is piled up around our house and it feels really, really overwhelming. So let's go ahead and dive into how to tackle this fear of donation regret to go ahead and get rid of the clutter and get you back some of that time, that energy, maybe even a little bit of your sanity. If you are a mom, especially of young kids like me, I cannot promise you a 100% return on your sanity. I personally don't have that and my home is pretty decluttered. However, we're gonna be moving in the right direction. We're gonna go through 5 mindset shifts that will help you get over this fear of donation regret, starting with the very first one, which is to trust your gut, not your fear. That little voice that is saying, what if I need it? What if you're gonna use it down the line? Is not your gut. That is your fear disguised and dressed up as your gut. In fact, maybe fear is wearing one of the many costumes that, hi honey, many costumes that my husband has in bins in the garage. He's he's made leaps and strides and bounds towards living a more decluttered life, and I appreciate that about him. However, he holds on to more stuff than I do, which is a whole nother episode about how people marry each other with like very different thresholds for clutter, but we'll talk about that one another time. But anyways, I guess I was just saying that your fear of donation regret often dresses up as in a costume, like one of my husband's for an 80s party that we're apparently going to go to in the evenings, instead of putting our children to bed at 7 o'clock p.m. But anyway, I digress again. Your fear is disguised as your gut, but it ain't your gut, girl. Your gut is the part of you that knows you have never touched those black cords in your office closet for literally a decade, and you're never going to. You're never going to plug them in or find the old digital camera that they go to and get those photos off of that digital camera from, your 9th grade homecoming. It's not going to happen, okay? I hope you have the best time at your homecoming. I really do. But honestly, you probably have the memories you need to keep, and if you don't ever uncover those using whatever black cord that probably doesn't even go to anything anyway, like that memory still happened. HOCO still happened, okay? So it's that gut that knows you're not going to use these items that you need to listen to, and just go ahead and say bye, 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 like NSYNC would say. Remember this, if it is collecting dust, it is collecting stress. It is adding stress to you because it is bogging down your home, whether you can see it or not. And you will be amazed at how much lighter and better you feel as a whole when you declutter it. Mindset number 2 is future you doesn't want it either. So I love future me. Future Shannon is my best friend, and I think about her all the time. I try and make future Shannon's life a lot easier by doing things now. But this is where future Shannon or future you can really start to like cause problems. Like she can be a little bit of an issue. Future you is always more mature and responsible and energetic than current you. Like she looks at current you and she's like, what are you doing with your life? She's a little judgy. So we always imagine that like future us is gonna suddenly have this burning need to make bread from scratch. Like she's gonna be going on runs every single morning. She's going to be dressing up and looking cute every single day instead of wearing her sweatpants because she works from home. Or like my future Aaron, my husband, future Aaron, does go to theme parties regularly. He's a lot of fun. And because future us is so awesome, we feel like we're going to need all these items to support future us. Let's reel that in a little bit. Here's the reality. Future you doesn't want this stuff just like current you. I promise. Future you wants a clean, open, calm space that she comes home to and can relax and doesn't have things screaming at her to take care of them, or the guilt of looking at these items that you've never used, that you spent money on, and so you're just keeping them because why? Because they make you feel bad? Because they shame you? I think not, sis. Let's not do that to future you. She deserves better. Future you is over the junk as well, okay? She doesn't want a search party in order to find her keys on the way out the door like current you does, right? So take care of future you, not by bogging her down with expectations that she's going to be this idealized version of yourself. Rather, take care of her in a way that is practical and realistic, which means give her a calm home, okay? Mindset shift number 3 is that you can, most of the time, replace it. Remember that you can reacquire stuff, okay? We are not living in like medieval times. We have very easy ways to reacquire things that don't even require spending a lot or any money. We have buy nothing groups. We have thrift stores. We have ways you can makeshift your own stuff out of other stuff. And then of course, as a last resort, in my opinion, there is Amazon 2-day shipping, which again, I don't really recommend. So a lot of decluttering experts will offer this rule, which maybe you're gonna find helpful. So I'm gonna share it with you, but I'm gonna say I don't really agree with it. And it's the 20-20 rule. That is, if it costs less than $20 and only takes 20 minutes or less to replace it, go ahead and declutter it. I don't personally think that this really accounts for privilege. $20 is a lot of money. I also think we do need to be really mindful about our consumption. Decluttering isn't just get rid of everything so that if you need it down the line, you can just get it again. Even if you can afford that, that's a lot of material waste. And I don't know about you, but I worry about the future of of this planet for my children. I am not like a tree hugger. Not that there's anything wrong with tree huggers. Hug your tree. I think it's great when people care about the environment. I don't know why we make fun of them, or some people make fun of them, but I can't say that like I am an environmentalist at heart. All I know is that I want my babies to like have oxygen and like energy to keep surviving, right? And while I do think that we continue to make technologies available, oh my gosh, I've read some crazy stuff recently, like how they're gonna like put mirrors in space in order to reflect the ozone, I really don't know what I'm talking about. I've read some crazy things that they're thinking of to like basically figure out how to help our planet survive longer. But that being said, I want to do my part in not adding to the material waste that's going to end up in landfills by not just saying, oh, I'll just buy that again if I need it later, unless I'm going to get it secondhand, you know? But the spirit here of this mindset shift, let me get back on track here, is that you're not stuck with your choice forever. Okay, you can probably reacquire whatever it is that you're getting rid of, unless it's a sentimental item, which we'll get to in a second. If you can't reacquire it, you can often just make it yourself or use something else in order to fit the bill. Like for instance, if you get rid of the majority of your vases that you never put flowers in, if you're like me, you can probably use a cup or a mason jar, or just like a lot of times people give flowers that already come in a vase. So I'm going to be able to kind of makeshift something that will keep the flowers alive the one time a year, if that someone gives me flowers. Hint, hint, Erin. And the last thing you can do is just borrow it or reacquire it through people that you know. Mindset number 4 touches on sentimental items. You have to be able to separate sentiment from stuff. If you're new here, I have a podcast called the Paring Down Podcast, which you can actually watch here on my YouTube page, or you can listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. And episode 5 is all about sentimental items. So I'm going to kind of point you there because this is a very nuanced and extended conversation. I mean, that episode's only 22 minutes, but I know that this can be a really, really tough one. Like, what if I will regret getting rid of it, that donation regret, because this isn't replaceable. So for the sake of time here, let's talk about sentimental items that aren't necessarily about someone that you've lost, right? Like, we're not talking about the death of a loved one. We're not talking about maybe things that you keep from when your kid was a different age, like when they were little babies. But let's focus on sentimental items that are more so about specific memories. So, you know, maybe souvenirs or an old t-shirt from your high school musical. I played Sarah Brown in Guides and Dolls in 9th grade, but I probably don't need that t-shirt anymore, you know? Yearbooks, things like that, that kind of represent memories, not people. So that's what I'm gonna be talking about right now. And what I'm gonna say is this: just because this memory was important to you doesn't mean that you need all of the stuff that came along with it. Like, I remember when we went to Pompeii, I remember that was a stop on a family cruise like a couple years ago. And so we got to like hike to the top of the volcano, you know, of Pompeii. I forget what the volcano, Distuvio. Oh my gosh, I'm putting this on the internet and someone's gonna make a lot of fun of me for not remembering the name of the mountain volcano. But anyways, it erupted over the city of Pompeii. And I remember buying this, like, who knows how much it cost, this little ash turtle that's like supposedly made from the ashes of Pompeii. And then, this was a long time ago actually, not a couple of years ago. This had to have been 10 years ago. I kind of forget how old I am sometimes. I'm like, oh, a couple years ago in high school. And then I'm like, that was 15 years ago. But anyway, I remember a couple years later, I was moving and I was like, I don't think I really care about this little ash turtle from Pompeii. The cool part was hiking the mountain, you know, the experience itself. And I don't need something in order to remember that. Also, you probably have a picture of it. I have a picture of me in Guys and Dolls in high school or hiking Pompeii. This day and age, you probably have a picture of it anyway, so you don't need the stuff in order to keep the sentimental memory. And the very last mindset shift is to donate for the greater good. It is really hard to have donation regret when you think about how it's helping someone else. The things that you're holding on to out of fear, out of those unrealistic what if questions, or maybe like minorly realistic what if questions, could actually be helping someone else right now. Now, I'm not gonna get into the details of where exactly to take all your stuff in this video. Again, we're gonna be here for a while, folks. This channel is gonna have a lot of videos because there is so much to be said about decluttering. But let's say you're gonna take it somewhere like Goodwill, like you haven't found someone directly to give it to, so you don't get to know what really happens to the item. I think that we could start being pessimistic. Oh, it probably ended up in a landfill. It's probably just sitting on a shelf, not being used in a thrift store somewhere. You know, we have these kind of negative thoughts about where our stuff has gone, and then we have that donation regret. But I challenge you to think of where it could be in a good way. Keep an optimistic mindset. Keep thinking, oh my goodness, that little truck that my son used to enjoy is probably rolling around somebody else's home right at this very second and bringing so much joy to a different little boy. That sweater that was so cute that I loved but was clogging up my closet is probably being worn by someone who is going out to dinner with her friends right now. I know that maybe you might say, well, the odds are it isn't, but it might be. And it's a lot easier to not feel donation regret when you think about the way it could be bringing joy to somebody else. Listen, donating your stuff means that you are helping someone, you are reducing waste because they're not driving the market forward for new materials because they are using yours secondhand. That's huge. And you're clearing space in your home so that you feel lighter and better about your everyday living situation. It is a win-win-win. I'm all about it. Donate your stuff and know that it's going to a good place and a good home. Okay, I can't finish this video without acknowledging what happens if you do end up needing something and regretting your donation. Do not panic, okay? First, remind yourself that it's totally normal to make little mistakes here and there in life and to be disappointed about certain decisions and that sort of thing. You don't have to kick yourself. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm so stupid, or I should never declutter again, because that's just gonna hold you back again from this big picture of having the home that you want. Just accept that disappointment is a part of life. Frustration is a part of life. You might even need to ask yourself, do I really need this right now? Or is this just kind of like a vague want? Like, I remember recently we had gotten rid of a bunch of plywood that we weren't using in the garage. And then my husband stumbled across a project that he needed a piece of plywood for. And in that moment, he was like, oh, we should have kept the plywood, right? But our garage was a mess. And so we had to ask ourselves in that moment, would it really have been worth keeping that plywood? No. And did we really need it? Actually, it turned out we found a different kind of piece of plywood in the garage that he was able to cut down to the right size that we had kept. And he was able to use that anyway. So we just kind of like made it up and used something else. At the end of the day, we didn't actually need it in that moment. So if you're starting to be like, oh, I really wish I had that, think to yourself, is that a need in this situation, or just it might have been a little bit more convenient, but I'm really okay without it. Also, go through all of those steps that I reminded you in point number 3 that you can replace something. You can probably reacquire it through a thrift store. You can search for it on Facebook Marketplace and buy nothing groups. You can ask friends if you can borrow one of theirs. There are ways to reacquire things that you got rid of. The most important thing to remember is that keeping all of your things, because all of it has what if potential, right, isn't worth the heaviness and the exhaustion that clutter brings to your home. The loss of a single item, it's probably only gonna be 1, maybe 2 out of hundreds or thousands of things that you declutter. Is it really such a loss for those 1 or 2 things when in the end you get to enjoy so much less stress in your home by having decluttered the rest of it? And so it doesn't have to be all or nothing by any means. I want you to be thoughtful as you're decluttering. Like, don't just like throw away everything and hope for the best, you know? But it really is worth it to make some of those harder decisions and get past this fear of donation regret, to see the whole picture come together of a decluttered home, and then maybe face the consequences of 1 or 2 of those items actually being something you need in the future. And I'm gonna end with that really the goal of decluttering is not just to have this beautiful, like, Pinterest worthy home. I mean, when you declutter, your home will immediately look aesthetically more pleasing. It will elevate your space, but that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to decrease your stress and to get more energy, because you're not bogged down by all the stuff in your house that is like little voices telling you that you need to deal with it. And instead, you can go out and spend your time how you want to. You can relax at home. You can be more generous in spirit because you're not so focused or bogged down by this, you know, mental weight that comes along with the physical weight of clutter. So go forth. Enjoy your new space, let go of all those what ifs, and get back some of that sanity. And remember, if you get that tiny twinge of what if I need it, please keep in mind that future you doesn't want it either. Thanks so much for being here and tuning into this video. Please share it with a friend or someone who you know wants to declutter but is really struggling. It would mean the world if we could kind of spread this message and have people coming back to this channel to improve their lives and have the energy to get out and do the things that matter to them, which is probably not cleaning up their house all the time and dealing with piles of stuff. Okay, I'll see you next time.